Hello, Bram. Hello, Maria.
Hello.
Hi, good to be here.
How are you? So, Bram van Montfoort is works for the Dutch Republican movement, and Maria Backman is on the board of the Swedish Republican movement. We are all members of the AERM. You can see the banner behind us, the Alliance of European Republican Movements, which also has members in Denmark, Norway, Spain. We don't currently have a member in Belgium or Luxembourg, but we're working on it. So, yeah, Bram and Maria, either one. Well, but Bram, let's talk to you briefly, because the Dutch support is falling for the monarchy. The Dutch support for the monarchy is falling. Is that right?
True. It has been falling for years. Some of the media coverage says it's due to COVID and scandals of the last 2 years. But actually, if you look at the numbers over the last 20 years, in 1999 there was a 85% support for the monarchy. And now, if you ask people if they want Amalia, the crown princess, to become the next monarch, the support is only 51%. And we already have our King Charles, because the support for the current king, Willem-Alexander, is even lower. 44% of Dutch people support him personally.
And Maria, is it any different? I mean, I feel that it's a bit different. It's not moving so much to Sweden, but it's already quite strong support for the Republic.
Yes, I would say that you both have, Bram and Graham, you have an advantage because actually your royals don't always behave so well. I think the bigger challenge we have is that they mainly behave very well in the Nordic countries, but still we can see that it is moving. It's not moving as quickly because we haven't had any expensive weddings lately. We haven't had any really big scandals. They've been actually criticized for being quite invisible during the pandemic, along with everybody else, of course. But, you know, people were asking, what are we getting for the money we're paying them? Because they've been sitting home all year like everybody else. But we can see that depending on how you ask the questions, the monarchy doesn't have as much support as you might think. Because already in 2017, I think they asked... Demoscope asked if you have a lot of confidence or if you have fairly large confidence in the royals. They said then that 39% of the people in Sweden have a lot of confidence or fairly a lot of confidence in the royals. And that is a 45% decrease from the previous Demoscope a few years earlier. So it is falling, and I think it's going to go only one way, because one thing that is concerning people here is that we have a very pretty crown princess, the third in succession. She's 12 years old now, 10 or 12, I think. And people are thinking about the fact that we have signed the UN Declaration of the Rights of the Child, and actually having a child that is not even a teenager yet and telling her what her life is going to be, and that's going to be a problem. I don't think the Swedish population will actually accept that. So we have a different situation, but it is still moving in the right direction.
And Maria alluded to the fact that the Dutch king has not been behaving. What's he been doing over the last couple of years?
He's been going on holiday with the official government plane that's also used for important meetings by ministers, members of the cabinet. So, for example, when the Dutch government announced that we should all stay home because of COVID, he went on holiday to Greece. When the government, when the events in Ukraine happened, he went on holiday again. When there was a flooding in the southern province, he went on holiday again. So yeah, he's seen as not very interested in what's actually going on in the country.
And that's part of what's had an effect on the polling.
Yes, but I find it too easy to only look at the polling. Like if if monarchs are behaving well, then there would be massive support. I think something interesting that I think also is happening in other countries is there's a huge difference if you look at age groups. So the over 60-year-olds that have been fed propaganda all their life, they massively support the monarchy in the Netherlands. It's still 80-90%. If you look at the under 30-year-olds, the under 40-year-olds even, there's already a majority for the Republic. And then the public broadcaster asked them, so why do you support a Republic, or why don't you support the monarchy? And the reasons they give is, well, equality. It's more equal to have a Republic. It's way too expensive. And also it's lame. It's old fashioned. So they didn't, amongst the top 3 reasons why young people don't support the monarchy, they didn't even mention the scandals. They mentioned these 3 other things.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I did realize when we started that we forgot to run the little 30-second video, which we might just do because there's a couple of important points in there. So Arnold, if Arnold is hearing me, we can run that quickly because I'll pick up a couple of things that are in there.
Mensen zijn blij om de koning te ontmoeten, maar zij zien hem liever vertrekken.
So, Bram, coming to you first. The stills there were from the Swedish website. And there's a whole bunch of campaigns and information there. I'll come back to Maria in a second. But there were a couple of protests in the Netherlands and the Free Amalia campaign. So the one in the where you're walking in the park. Can you tell me what that's about?
So the king owns a couple of crown domains. They're called. They're basically a park paid for by the Dutch citizens, but somehow he gets to use it to go hunting and close it off. And even though we're paying for it, he goes hunting with the subsidies that are not correct according to experts. So we decided to go in anyway during the hunting season and say, look, this is our land. We're paying for it. You have no right. And loads of people showed up. And
excellent. And the Free Amalia thing, Amalia is...
Yeah, I think that's kind of similar to what Maria was talking about. One of the lesser heard arguments against the monarchy is that it's also basically a golden cage for all the kids that were born into it. And we asked politicians to set not just Amalia, but any future kids born into this system, to set them free, let them decide for themselves what they want, and don't...
Sorry, is Amalia, just tell the audience who Amalia is.
It's the crown princess, who
so the next
already has her whole life planned. And somehow we think that's a good example. So we asked the public to send letters to politicians. We don't have to abolish the monarchy right now. I mean, you need to think about what kind of republic you want and so on and so on. But let's just get rid of the system of monarchy first. So that's why we coined Free Amalia and also William the Last. Let's end with this king, and our king is a little bit younger than yours, so then we would still have like some time to work out the details for a republic.
And Maria, as I said, there's quite a few campaigns. Can you give us an idea of what sort of things that the Swedish Republicans campaign on and what you're currently working on?
Yes, we have an election, a parliament election coming up this fall. So this summer and this fall is going to be very important for us. We have launched a larger scale social media campaign. It's kind of new to us. We've been on social media, of course. We have maybe like 42,000 followers on Facebook and maybe a few thousand on Instagram, but we actually hired a person for this summer up until the election, just to actually reach the people that Bram were talking about, because the young people, if they think about the matter, they don't support the monarchy. It's just that they are mainly oblivious to it, and we need to find them where they are. So that's one of the important things. And then another thing is that we have initiated work to update our strategy, where it's a work in progress, but we're actually moving from, public education and lobbying to actually forming the opinion. And we do that mainly by writing in newspapers. And we've found that it's easier to get our stories and editorials and stuff into smaller newspapers. So there is a publishing house in Stockholm that we enlisted to help us. And we got a report last week from them that they have actually been able to get our writings into about 20 local newspapers in the past few months. And of course, this has a great impact because these are the daily newspapers that people in small towns all over Sweden read daily. So we think it's going to help us, actually. And there was one of the headlines you saw in the short video was the Republican of the Year is something that we do every year. And this last year, we actually elected an editorial writer from one of the larger newspapers in Sweden, because he managed to, through his editorials, change the public stance of his newspaper to supporting the abolishing of the monarchy. And it was a huge thing. So, and now he's moved on to another city and another newspaper. So we're hoping he'll do the same where he is now.
Excellent. We did think about doing Republican of the Year, but then we realized Charles will win it every year. So decided not to. Right, we have a few questions.
Yes. The first question is about as a response to the Free Amalia campaign, and it's just an interesting one about the extent to which we should feel sorry for royals in their sort of their gilded cages. I think we have some views here about what that is, but I'm interested to know what the view is both in Sweden and in the Netherlands about actual sympathy for the royals and their situation, because it sounds like it's slightly different to how it is here, perhaps. Maria, if you wanted to, as you were part of the Free Amalia campaign, if you'd like to start.
No, Bram.
Sorry.
Yeah, Maria, you're welcome to join in with the Free Amalia campaign. We can use all the help.
Sorry.
Well, I think the interesting thing about this argument is that you will lose the hardcore Republicans. They will say right away, like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about equality. And I mean, I agree. It's not the most important argument. But I think as Republican campaigns, we also have to think about a broader audience. And if you talk to the average Dutchman or woman, and you bring this up, they say, that's actually an interesting point. Yeah, it's a bit outdated. We shouldn't have that. So for a broader audience, I think it kind of works well.
Interesting. And the second question is, what do you both see as the key challenges for republicanism in Sweden and in the Netherlands? I expect here, I think it's perhaps apathy is more thing, but what do you see as the big barriers that you need to overcome as Republican movements in the Netherlands and Sweden?
I could actually start with that one. And I think the biggest issue we're facing is that when you talk to people about it, they say that, yeah, it's outdated. It's not fair to the royal kids. It's too expensive. But there are so many other more pressing issues. They don't do any harm, so why change it? We have bigger things to do.
Yeah, and is that the same? Is that the same thing? It's true for the Netherlands, Bram?
Well, I saw something interesting in the chat earlier on, asking whether the UK campaign should push for a bicycle monarchy first, and then for the abolishment. And I never heard of the term bicycle monarchy before. Speaking to Graham, but apparently it's based on the Dutch or Swedish system where the monarchs are so approachable and they don't have any power, and this whole image that's being created. Well, actually, if you look at the constitution, they have a lot of power. They misuse public funds. The Dutch king doesn't even pay taxes. His nephew bought half of Amsterdam in the midst of a housing crisis. And that's also a reason why we're taking the government, the state, and the king to court to challenge his power under the European Declaration of Human Rights. That it shouldn't be possible. But to get this issue in the public eye, that there is actually a problem with having a monarchy, and even if you like the person or don't like the person, that there is a problem with the system. I think that's one of the key challenges we have.
Yeah. And just to ask about taking the king to court, is there any chance that the king will ever see the inside of a courtroom? I ask that from, obviously we have our own legal things. We would like to see our royals in front of for.
Well, that's actually part.
That could never happen.
It's part of the reason why we crowdfunded the court case, is because the king has all kinds of exception written into the law. He can't be questioned by lawyers. He can't be questioned by the judge. He doesn't have to appear. He has won all his court cases against the media. But we have a little trick up our sleeve, and that's, of course, the European courts. We're not expecting to win in local or even national court, but if we manage to get this case up to the European court in Strasbourg, I believe, there the royals and the system will have less power, and it would be very interesting to see what they will rule on this issue.
We have got some. I mean, I don't think that case would work here, but I think that it's an interesting idea, and you've given us food for thought. It's something which we've been thinking about, whether there are cases we can bring to court, particularly around the use of crown land, the duchies, and so on. So that is something we'll look at. But
it was more thinking actually Prince Andrew and that, and how he never actually saw the inside of the courtroom, and that's
issue, yeah.
It was always very clear throughout that that would never happen. And I just think it's the idea that a royal sits in a courtroom is still something that we are kind of waiting for.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've come to the end of our time on that, but thank you very much to Bram and to Maria. Really appreciate you being here. Bram, of course, is in the background as well, helping out, so appreciate that. And also, Bram will be back after the break, which we're about to have, to share the next bit. Give me a break and give you a break from me. So we're going to go for another break. That will go for about 15 minutes. Come back and we will be talking to a couple of activists from Thailand to talk about a very different kind of constitutional monarchy. It is a constitutional monarchy, but it doesn't behave like one. Bram will be chairing that discussion. So thank you very much again, and we shall see you in 15 minutes.